Hey everyone, my name is Mitch Dyer. I'm reviewing Far Cry 4 at the moment, and joining me for this review in progress commentary is Dan Stapleton.
Hello.
Dan, how dare we not have the Far Cry 4 review live on iTunes.com? Where is it? Where is my review?
Well, we do have a requirement that we play through a game in pretty much every form that we can before we put a review score on it.
Seems logical.
We don't like to change the review scores after.
Yeah.
We pretty much don't do that. So we want to be kind of sure of what we want to say this game is before we put our final review out there.
Yeah.
And how has it gone so far when you're trying to play multiplayer on this, Mitch?
Not great.
Does not work.
I had a pre-release copy of Far Cry 4 for debug PlayStation, which is it's a different kind of console than a retail unit. And the multiplayer just wasn't accessible for me. I couldn't get into any PvP matches. I've dabbled in the competitive multiplayer a little bit at preview events, but that is not enough to base a critical opinion on it. So
yeah, we don't base reviews off preview events.
Yeah. So what the way I'm doing this now is, I've finished the campaign and we're in the single player right now, and I'm just kind of messing around, getting places, showing some stuff. But I finished the campaign. It took me 15 hours, and I've since been just dabbling in as much side quest stuff as I could possibly get into.
And that for you is the highlight of this game, right?
Yeah,
big
time.
the main quest kind of up and down, but the side quest stuff.
Yeah, some of the missions aren't super memorable, but I'm deeply in love with this world, Kirat, the Himalayan country here. I mean, it's gorgeous. There's so much to do, and I want to go do everything. I mean, let's look at the map here. I've completed so much in this area that the map is kind of empty at this point, but typically there would be icons all over the place. And where I'm going now is to this outpost because I'm going to claim it.
So what I think a lot of viewers are wondering right now is when are you going to shoot something?
I'm going to get there, man. You know what? We're just going to leap out of a helicopter. This is probably faster. I'm going to wingsuit into this base and probably die immediately. I'll try not to do that, though. So I typically play Far Cry in a very stealthy way, and I think that freedom to play however you want is one of my favorite things about it. And the weapon variety is really great, and the combat feels really good, and being able to approach an outpost like this to reclaim it for you and your faction is it's one of the highlights of the game. You kind of approach and you figure out how you want to do it, and then you just go, and it's almost like a combat puzzle.
And then there's a tiger.
This one has an elephant, actually, so I'm going to do everything in my power to make it angry and take care of all the hard work for me. See if I can get it from over here. That did not seem to bother it.
Yeah. But they never forget.
No. I think I got it. I think it's angry.
Nope.
Oh, it's going on a rampage. All right, so let's get over there and watch it. And this kind of like weird stuff is what Far Cry 4 is all about for me. Like being able to spot an elephant and shoot it and make it mad so it will kill the enemies for me and claim this base for me. Like, I love that. I love that stuff. And the fact that it takes place in a world like this, like just a beautiful world that is super visually diverse. I mean, when we started out, the trees were a little more red because we were a little more north. We've headed a little bit out of the way, so now the trees are green and the grass is green, and it's just a little bit different. I like that visual variety a whole lot.
These guys don't look terribly upset by that elephant anymore. Did they kill it?
No, I think they might have killed it.
What monsters?
You know what it might have been? Is that guy I just killed was a hunter. They are particularly adept at handling animals. So he's dead, so that'll make my life a little easier here. He's got a bow. He's one of the new enemies. He shoots you with a bow, so he's quiet, he's silent, which is really annoying.
Silent but deadly, would you say?
He'll hide in bushes and stuff, and you won't know where you're getting hit from. It's infuriating because now they're using your own skills against you, which makes for some interesting and fun combat encounters.
You did say there aren't a lot of new skills in this if you played Far Cry 3.
Not really. I mean, we can head into the skill menu here. Like, there's a bunch of stuff. There's a new potion. I can't actually remember where it is on here, but it lets you deal and take double damage, so it's a bit of a risk-reward thing. Other stuff, like you can ride elephants. That's a new skill. That's pretty cool. But, like familiar stuff, grab a guy's grenade, throw it at his enemies, grab a guy's gun when you take him down, that kind of stuff. Reloading while scoped, that kind of stuff. Like, the stuff that you would expect. And it's good. Like, you don't want that stuff to go away because it's awesome. And it was part of what made Far Cry 3's economy so strong. I think I just got spotted. This is not good. Oh, Dan.
Oh.
Dan, the reinforcements. Oh, this guy's going for the alarm. I can't have it. This is really bad.
Screwed up, Mitch.
All right. So now we just need to go loud. And again, like this is a perfect example. Jeez, okay, perfect example of why Far Cry 4 is really, really great. Jeez, because I didn't see any of this coming. Like, I came in with my bow, thinking I was all hot stuff. I'm gonna be super silenced about it, and then I blow it. And now there are more guys on the way. My mind just blew me up, and now I have wounds that I gotta heal.
Well, one of the things I really like about this style of game, the sandbox style open world is that unlike Call of Duty, and Brian Albert actually called this out in his review of Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Advanced Warfare.
Sorry, yeah, more modern warfare.
More modern warfare.
But yeah, he said there's a stealth mission he really liked, but when you get spotted, it's an auto fail, right?
Oh yeah, I can't stand that.
And it's the difference between this game and that game is that this game knows how to switch between stealth gameplay and action gameplay on the fly and back again.
It kind of forces you to adapt. It's like it's a do or die thing.
Right. So it's not just you're doing the same thing throughout an entire level. This doesn't really even have levels in that. Traditional
it's
I guess,
one gigantic level.
Although it does have some linear parts.
Sure,
right?
yeah. Some of the missions are linear, and they lock you into a space. And if you leave the area, it's like, hey, you might want to get back because we're gonna fail you.
Yep.
Because you have a thing to do in that area.
Right.
All right.
And that's kind of necessary to tell a story.
Yeah.
But speaking of,
yes,
you're a little bit less excited about the story.
Yeah, and I think the story in Far Cry 3, I think, was something that was really divisive. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't. I was particularly into it. The characters were not fantastic in a way that I thought was interesting. They were, spoiled kids. They were terrible people. But I thought that played into the story Far Cry 3 was telling really well. Far Cry 4 does not have a lot of characters that I'm super emotionally into. In the same way that this does, I like a few of the leaders of the Golden Path. That's the rebellion that you're fighting for. Their story tied to the main character's story is really cool, but the main character himself is like super dry, super boring. He's ambivalent about everything going on in the world. He just kind of exists. Elephant. We're gonna ride an elephant, Dan. So you're kind of forced to seek out certain stories, like the make your own story thing that they always talk about, like, oh, every second is a story. It's kind of true. Like, that's the most interesting stuff, because what's happening with AJ, the main character, is
he's riding an elephant.
Like, this is awesome. This is so much cooler than him having to fight against like a series of evil government lieutenants who show up in the story for some reason I don't fully understand, and then aren't developed in any way, and then leave very suddenly in confusing ways. Like, that stuff is really disappointing, because the main villain, Pagan Min, who is Troy Baker's character, he's awesome, right? Like, you see that scene at E3, it's the first scene in the game, he shows up, he's nasty, he's funny, he's charming. That stuff is really good.
Get it? Oh.
He's barely in the game. Like, oh, I got that driver, are you kidding me? All right. It's the power of the elephant. He's barely in the game. He shows up a couple times throughout the game, and then that's kind of it. So that's disappointing as well. And having a strong villain, I think, is core to having a really good story when your story is about a rebellion.
Right.
And
that goat, is that a rebel goat?
No, that was an enemy goat. This is a Royal Army goat. I don't even know if I need its skin, but now I have it. Yeah, so oh, Jesus Christ.
Is that a tiger?
That's a tiger. Do I have any explosives or anything? There's an eagle up here, too. It's probably just gonna... These birds, Dan! Listen, I hate the birds! The birds are the enemy.
This is pretty crazy, just the amount of wildlife you're interacting here. You have the elephant, then you see a tiger, so you stop, and an eagle attacks you.
Yeah, I mean, Far Cry 4's world is so much more dense than Far Cry 3, and it's another reason I love it. Like, it's beautiful, and there's lots of space to... This bird needs to die. But things like this happen so much more often. Like, that was part of what made Far Cry 3 really great, is, oh man, there's a tiger here. And now suddenly, well, there's a tiger over there, and it's coming for me. But I'm also being attacked by a bird, and there's an elephant here that I could irritate and further complicate things. Did I get it? Take that.
Did you shoot the elephant? Now the elephant wants to kill you? Or?
Oh, there's a convoy.
Oh
my God! All right.
So things can go bad pretty fast.
Yeah, and that unpredictability, again, is like, it's why I love this series. Not knowing what's going to happen or not knowing the consequences of your actions in the moment is always really exciting. That kind of stuff is great.
And the other thing you want to talk about in the review was Shangri-La.
Yeah, and we can't really show it because I've already finished that side quest, but it's this like weird psychedelic side story that takes place in like an alternate dimension. You kind of go like back in time to explore karate myth, karate being the country that you're in. You explore like a classic karate legend by living it out in visiting Shangri-La, and it's a very strange, very cool interpretation of that mythical setting. And it's different enough that it's exciting in its own way. It's a little more linear, which I know people will kind of be turned off by, but you get it's all bow and arrow combat. It's they shake things up a little bit by giving you a tiger ally. Like, you just have this tiger that you can command and say, like, all right, get that guy, while you're distracting him and mauling him, I will finish off everyone around him, and then we'll proceed.
Right. You know what we should talk about?
What should we talk about?
Co-op.
Yeah, so at any point in the game, I think, what are the controls? I don't remember. Here we go. Yeah, if I was online, which I'm not, I could pop into this menu and say, okay, I want to open my game so that Dan can come and help me out. And then he would join my game, and story missions would turn off, but then we would have the freedom to approach any outpost that we wanted to and take it down together. And it just really amplifies the crazy stuff like we saw with me messing with those animals. If Dan was there, that might have been a totally different situation. He might have been able to sneak up behind those guys, or he might have ridden that elephant and taken down that convoy by just ramming the trucks, because you basically, when riding an elephant, are a golden god.
I would be riding the elephant.
I know you would, Dan. Let me just show off my atrocious driving skills right now. We're just gonna walk. The vehicles are for suckers. And it's cool to be able to approach an outpost, or there are actually these new, again, I've completed all of these, so this is not conducive to a great commentary, but there are these gigantic compounds that are owned by the lieutenants of Pagan Min, the main villain, and they're really hard, and they're really hard specifically so that you play the campaign missions to weaken their defenses, and you get a co-op buddy to come help you take them down. And it's almost necessary if you don't play through all the campaign missions to get the forces down, to make sure that it doesn't have a leader, because having somebody to be able to attract enemy fire, to help you take them down, to help set traps, that stuff is really important, and it's really fun. I really enjoy co-op in this game, significantly more than Far Cry 3 in particular, because it was kind of this more linear, not as exciting co-op campaign that didn't capture the heart and soul of the series.
So speaking of Far Cry 3 versus Far Cry 4,
yeah.
you're a well-known, huge super fan of Far Cry 3.
Yes, sir.
Do you like this better than Far Cry 3?
People keep asking me, man, is this the best one? No, Far Cry 2 is the best one. Don't be crazy. Far Cry 2 is the best first-person shooter ever made. However, I still haven't really come to terms with whether or not I think this one is better, because as similar as they are in mechanics and economy and combat and things like that, they have such radical differences in strengths and weaknesses that, if you're gonna play a story, I think Far Cry 3's story is stronger, but only in certain ways. I think the emotional gravity of what you're doing in Far Cry 4 is more meaningful and pays off better. But the characters in Far Cry 3 I thought were much, much stronger overall. Voss is a better villain than Pagan Min, simply because he's around more to be interesting and to develop. So I don't know. I haven't really figured out which one is the best one. Whatever, just play Far Cry 2. If you got to play one Far Cry game and you don't know which one to play because you're deliberate, just Far Cry 2. Go to Africa.
That's fair.
That game got so much hate, Dan. So much unfair hate. You get malaria.
Yep.
Your guns can jam up like they don't in this game. I miss that. I miss when I had a buddy system. When you would die, malaria. People would come bring you back to life. Where'd that stuff go? Bring that back in Far Cry 5.
Oh, so we should also note that you've played this now on this is PS4.
Yes.
You played it on Xbox One.
Yep.
Played on 360 and PS3.
And not PC.
Not PC because you play.
Because you play, yeah. So I've had a retail copy of Far Cry 4 for PC on my desk for a week, just sitting there staring me in the face, and it is not currently usable.
Yeah, that don't work.
Yeah, I can't activate the game at all. So I have to wait till launch day, which is when the review will hopefully go live. I'm going to jump into the competitive multiplayer servers the day it goes live on Tuesday, November 18th, and then that's hopefully when the final review for Far Cry 4 will go live for all platforms.
The one instance where it wouldn't go live there is if multiplayer is having launch day issues. We give them a day and a half, 2 days to resolve that.
I'm the worst.
Way to land.
I didn't pull the chute fast enough.
We give them a short time to resolve that issue, and if not, then we have to just say, hey, it's busted.
Yeah.
But hopefully that won't be the case here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously we're not reviewing the PvP based on preview stuff, but what I've played is interesting, and I think it's really cool that it implements a lot of the open world elements and the combative freedom and flexibility that makes these campaigns special into a 5v5 environment. You have two teams that operate very differently, one with guns, one with bows and sort of magical powers and different weapons and all these things. Having that plus the dynamic of animals invading your area and just being able to approach from any area and wingsuit down from a cliff, all of that stuff is in PvP and seems really cool, and I can't wait to explore more of that when it goes live and, to play with you guys on Tuesday.
It does sound a lot more interesting than Far Cry 3's PvP.
Which was just, I mentioned that, I'm holding the review because we can't get into the PvP stuff, and people were super confused, Far Cry has PvP? I was like, yeah, it had PvP in Far Cry 3. And
It
our
did?
entire staff was like, "What?
No,
Are
I
you
remember
sure?"
it well. I remember it well.
Me too, because it's just the flattest, simplest, shooterist game of all time in PvP.
And I guess so the last thing I think people want to know is like the performance on 360 and PS3 is
Yeah.
acceptable. Right?
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's not ideal. It's not as good as it is on Xbox One and PS4,
Yeah.
of course.
Shocking that the
Yeah.
8-year difference in hardware makes a difference.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's kind of hard from our perspective, like, because we have to play both,
Yep.
like, and go from one to the other. Generally, we'll play the new gen stuff first.
Yep.
And then have to go back.
Going
and play
back is very
Oh, it's so
weird.
hard.
Who are these? These people are just
Namaste,
chilling, just hanging out. Oh, they're just worshiping. like
Yeah,
you
why
do.
not? Yeah, so it's
Yeah, I mean the frame rate's a little less stable. It drops from time to time. Like, I don't know. I would guess like into the 20s.
Yep.
And I'm trying to spin this mining wheel. Yeah, there we go. Give me some karma. And there's more screen tearing, and there's less finer visual detail. I was playing through an opening sequence on Xbox 360, and I was like, something's different, and I can't quite figure it out. And it's obviously like the draw distance isn't as good. That stuff's super apparent, but it's things like there are prayer banners blowing in the wind, and there's snow drifting off the mountains and stuff like that into the world, and the fog coming down over the mountains. I mean, you can kind of see some of that up here. Like that finer detail is just missing from the last gen versions, which is to be expected, but it still looks really good. Like, you're not going to see things like this.
and it's functionally identical.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's the same game. If you want just to explore a really cool big world with guns and to have that combative freedom and to do whatever you want, I mean, it's all there.
So man, I'm looking forward to the first open world game that just isn't bound by the constraints of old gen stuff.
Yeah, right. Like,
I guess-
what does Far Cry 5 look like on Xbox One only, right?
Yeah,
Or
I guess
or
like
new
Infamous
gen only.
Second Son was technically
no.
that, but it yeah.
Oh no! Started to escape the yaks and flew directly into a tree.
Yep. Like a squirrel.
Good job.
Anyway.
Let's just end this on a shameful note like
Yep.
that.
Yep. Go out with a bang.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for hanging out and explaining the review in progress. That's live on IGN.com right now. You can go read the majority of my thoughts, mostly the campaign, the co-op stuff there, and then look for the full review the week of November 18th.
As soon as possible.
Indeed. And for all your Far Cry needs, stay tuned to IGN.